The Ogre Kingdoms army is quite possibly the most unique of the army races, as where else can you have a dozen models and call it an army? The ogres really are the mercenaries for hire, and despite the ogres' cannibalistic tendencies, they're seen as a neutral army, specifically because they'll ally with the forces of good and order just as readily as they will with the forces of chaos and evil. They're available to the highest bidder, whomever that may be. In terms of playstyle, ogres are primarily a close combat army, comprised of very few models. Oftentimes an entire army may not even reach 20 models. However, high movement and solid resilience offsets factors that would make them easy to outmaneuver. The Ogre combat onslaught is supported by a unique magic phase that aims at making the killing that much more brutal. So let's have a look at some of the advantages that the Ogre Kingdoms list brings to the table. Ogres rely heavily on their core, with Bulls and Iron Guts being excellent frontline troops with strength and toughness 4 and 3 wounds and attacks per model. They also cause fear, which, while not as powerful as 7th edition, is certainly a nice little perk. Unlike other monstrous infantry, ogres inflict impact hits when they charge. That, combined with their relatively impressive movement statistic of 6, makes them more or less an army of small chariots. Man-eaters and yetis are also very good close combat troops with nice special abilities, but each cost a great deal. Gorges are the snickrots of the fantasy world, sneaking around enemy lines and attacking them from behind. These land sharks are great for taking out war machines. The only block troops that the Ogre Kingdoms have are nobblers, which are sort of like goblins, only slightly toned down. Yes, they are a pathetic lot, but they're cheap, and very good at throwing rocks, and at 2 points a pop, they're an absolute steal. Finally, the greatest strength the ogres have are the generals, the bruisers and tyrants. Both have access to great magic items and are absolutely amazing close combat abilities. Give one some decent armor and a great weapon and they'll probably never lose a single combat. Okay, let's have a look at some of the disadvantages of the Ogre Kingdoms army. The main weakness of the ogre army as a whole is their low model count combined with an initiative of 2 for basic core choices. This results in the army being horribly weak against the death spell Purple Sun. A single successful cast of this spell can very easily destroy any chances you have of winning. This also means that they can be outmaneuvered a lot easier, as well as suffering in combat thanks to their low initiative. A generally low leadership throughout the army means that ogres are often unreliable in how much they can be controlled. However, this can be combated by correct placement of generals, which will ensure that the units that you need will have a much better chance of achieving their task on the table. A relatively low weapon skill for the core units puts a damper on the combat capabilities of the ogres. Also, the generally high cost of units further constricts the size of a potential ogre army. There is also the overarching shadow of how old the Ogre Kingdoms book is, being well overdue for an overhaul. However, with the recent changes to 8th edition, the ogres are certainly more competitive than in the previous 7th edition. The Ogre Kingdom's aesthetics consist mainly of mercenary barbarians, with humorously oversized, fat and bald models. There are some similarities to Mongol raiders in their appearance, and all in all they generally look like oversized fat humans with huge shields covering their guts. Essentially the models are really quite comical in their appearance, and they certainly have a fair amount of conversion and painting opportunities. The added advantage of having such a low model count means that you can put extra time and effort into each model and really make it an impressive piece. Alright guys, that wraps up the Ogre Kingdoms. Hopefully this video has assisted you in making a few more decisions when you go to pick your next Warhammer Fantasy Army.